Aloha, and welcome to our summary of Hawaii during the reign of Kamehameha IV, Alexander Liholiho. Our story begins abruptly with an ending. That is, the end of the life of King Kamehameha III, whose funeral was held on January 10th, 1855. But with every ending comes the dawn of something new. This new beginning came in the form of Kamehameha III's adopted son, Alexander Liholiho. Liholiho took his oath of office the day after the funeral on January 11th. He was coronated as Kamehameha IV at Kauaihao Church, and at this coronation, Liholiho swore to uphold the Constitution, increase civilization and good virtues, and preserve the independence of the Hawaiian Kingdom. A year after ascending the throne, the king was presented with a challenge. He was still a bachelor. So in order to give the Hawaiian crown more stability and continue the monarchy under a native dynasty, he married his childhood sweetheart, Emma Naea Rook, on June 19, 1856. Oh yeah, and they had a baby. In other events, the royal family wasn't the only thing that was expanding. Honolulu was also expanding and developing, being declared an official city in 1850. With new systems in place, such as postal services and successful trade in harbors, Honolulu was making rapid advancements in learning the ways of Western civilization. The harbors in Hawaii also gave rise to an industry boom. Whaling, to be specific. Whaling ships would often dock at the harbors to sell the spoils of their recent hunt, especially whale oil. As the whaling industry continued to grow in its success, it soon surpassed the plantation businesses in coffee, sugar, and livestock, making the investments and profits from these businesses look comparatively sad. In politics, the king wanted to substitute the Treaty of Annexation for a reciprocity treaty with the United States. However, the developed reciprocity treaty was not put into effect due to a strong conflict of interest in the U.S. Senate. Do you know what time it is? That's right, it's time for the whaling industry to decline. The industry was dependent on a supply of living things, and that means that when you kill all the living things, your business dies along with the rest of the living things. They harpooned the business straight into economic scarcity, which wasn't good for the price of whale oil since the price shot up. Because of this drastic increase in expense, cheaper alternatives such as kerosene replaced whale oil. Soon enough, sugar made a comeback over the whalers. This was largely supported by California and Oregon's increase in population at this time. But this population boom also resulted in a shift from Atlantic ports to a heavier reliance on Pacific ports. The greatest of the Pacific ports was San Francisco, which eventually surpassed all of the other ports in terms of trade success. Choo-choo! Here comes the Transcontinental Railroad. This innovation made the Atlantic ports even more obsolete as it revolutionized transportation from the east coast of the US to the west coast. Now, imported goods obtained from the west coast ports could be transported expeditiously to consumers all across the continental United States. Let's go back to royal family matters. In 1859, rumors began to float around that Queen Emma was having an affair with the king's secretary, a young man by the name of Henry A. Nielsen. After much drunken deliberation at sea, the king found this man and shot him in the chest. Nielsen miraculously survived, dying only 2.5 years after the incident. In the 1800s, many different churches also began to plant themselves in Honolulu. The royal family, being Christian, decided that they wanted to baptize their one and only son, Prince Albert. However, as the bishop was sailing over to Honolulu to baptize the young prince, the 4-year-old boy came down with brain fever and died on August 27, 1862. The loss of this heir left the Hawaiians in a state of sorrow and desolation, and they needed something to cling to for hope. For the royal family, this comfort was the Hawaiian Reformed Catholic Church, which they became members of a month after the loss of their son. Unfortunately, this church was not nearly as well established as the other churches who had previously been there, and they were financially outrun by the Roman Catholics and the Hawaiian Evangelical Association. This sequence of tragedies had a massive impact on the king himself, who dealt with his guilt and grief by numbing the pain with his heavy drinking and smoking addictions. His chronic asthma also began to intensify until his final asthma attack on the morning of November 30th, 1863, which choked the 29-year-old king to death. With Liholiho now dead, and his son, the prince, along with him, the rightful heir to the throne was assumed to be the king's brother, Prince Lot. The same day of Liholiho's death, Prince Lot ascended the throne as Kamehameha V, and that concludes the story of King Kamehameha IV, Alexander Liholiho. Thanks for watching.